Welcome back to the 24 Days of Personal Branding Challenge. It's day 13 in a new year, so what better time to get clear on your goals, priorities, and the legacy you want to leave behind? In today's lesson, I'm going to help you figure out how to set intentional goals that you can actually accomplish. I know with the new year, a lot of people have a bad bad thoughts about New Year's resolutions and setting goals at the new year or intentions, because it's almost like you're setting yourself up for failure, right? Um, I know I've set New Year's resolutions for many years. I've done it twice where I've actually completed what the New Year's resolution one was. One was when I went vegetarian, and one was when I switched all my products to clean beauty products. So today I want to talk to you about setting intentional goals that align with your legacy that you want to leave behind, what you want to be known for, and setting goals that align with the season of life that you're currently in. I know sometimes we have big goals that don't necessarily align with where we're at right now in life. So, for example, I know I want to be an author at some point, but until I'm at the point that I'm really just focused on building my brand even more, right now I'm really focused on increasing my revenue in my business and streamlining everything. So it doesn't really make sense for me to focus on that right now. But I'm going to help you figure out how to know what the legacy is you want to leave behind, what goals you should be focusing on right now, how to figure out what season of life you're in. And I'm going to share a new strategy that I have on setting goals that I'm actually trying for the first time this year. I've done something similar in a company I've worked in, so I'm going to go into details on that in a little bit. But I just want to give you kind of an overview of what we're going to get into today. And again, if you're new to this challenge, there is a workbook that goes along with each of these lessons. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes or in the description. You'll be able to click on that, just put in your email and your name, and you'll see all of the replays along with the workbook that goes with each one. In there, I also link to the podcast episode that goes with it. So if you'd rather listen to this while you're doing something else, or if you want to remind yourself of something, that's also available there too. And it's an easy way to find everything. So let's get into it. First, let's make sure we're on the same page as far as what I'm calling goals, priorities, and legacy. So I pulled these directly from the dictionary. I know some of the terms I've used previously aren't in the dictionary, which is interesting, but these are directly from the dictionary. So first one is goals. So goals is the object of a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result. So it's what you're trying to accomplish, what you're focused on. We pretty much, I think most of us know what a goal is, right? Your priorities are a thing that is regarded as more important than another. And I like to use your priority to know what season of life you're in. And I'm going to walk you through an exercise to help you figure that out. But it's going to guide you to knowing which goals make the most sense right now. Sometimes we can set goals because someone else is doing it or it seems cool. But if it doesn't align with our priorities right now and the season of life we're in right now, then we're not going to walk away, even if we accomplish the goal, feeling how we want to end up feeling, because the areas of life that are kind of pulling us down are still going to be pulling us down if we're focused on something that isn't related to the thing that is the hardest for us right now, right? And then the last thing I want to get clear on the definition of is legacy. So legacy is the long-lasting impact of a particular event, actions, etc., that took place in the past or of a person's life. So it's the events, it's the things you did, it's the things you left behind throughout your entire life. It's what you're known for, what people are going to be saying about you long after you're gone. It's the impact that is still impacting people. And that could be financial things that you've done and helped people with. That could be charities that you created. That could be books or courses or podcasts that you've created that people can continue to consume and learn from. That is all part of your legacy. So the reason that you want to get clear on, like I was saying, both your legacy and your priorities are so you know which goals make sense for you. If you go through the legacy exercise and you realize that the things that you're writing down that are important to you, and then you think about like goals you've done in the past, you might realize that there's a misalignment. So I used to really want to run a marathon. And I think I don't know why. I think I just saw other people doing it and I thought that it would be like a cool thing to accomplish. But when I pass away, I don't necessarily want people to be like, she ran a marathon, right? So there wasn't a big enough reason, and it didn't help me in the areas of life that I was struggling with. So I ended up never accomplishing it. And I think if I did accomplish it, honestly, I would have kind of felt like it was almost pointless, right? It kind of reminds me of I did 75 hard last year, and it taught me a lot of really great things. It gave me a lot of great habits, but it also made me realize that some of the things that it was having me do weren't in alignment with what my actual goals and priorities were. So it almost felt like I was wasting my time each day, right? And you don't want to do that. So the first thing I want to help you do is get clear on the legacy that you want to leave behind. And these exercises can seem a little bit morbid, but I think it's important to really go deep and know what is really important to you so that you don't end up on your deathbed, basically, looking back and wishing that you'd done things differently. So the first exercise is I want you to write your own eulogy. If you were writing, say, when you're 100 years old or however old, you pass away, write out what you want people to be saying about you. Who do you want them to say you were? And that includes characteristics, that includes things that you've accomplished, that includes things that are like relational things. Were you married? Were you a great mother or father? Were you a grandparent? Did you start a business? Are you a best-selling author? Were you kind? Were you hardworking? Really go deep on what it is you want people to say about you, how you want to be remembered. And this should be both personal and professional, what you want people to say. Again, this is all going to be in the workbook if you download that. these questions will be written out, and then the replay will be on there. So you'll be able to pause me as you go through this. The second exercise that I want you to do is to write your own will. And this is a little bit different because it's thinking more from a financial perspective of what you want to leave for your family long term, long after you're gone. Do you want to, when they're reading your will, do you want it to basically be a bunch of debts that are now their problem, right? That they have to scramble together and figure out the cost of your funeral, and your medical expenses? Do you want to actually be leaving them in a better place, right? Do you want to have a college fund for someone? Do you want to leave someone property, your companies perhaps, or investments that you have? What do you want that to look like? In an ideal situation, if anything could happen, what do you want to be able to say that you're leaving? Or this could also be like if you've created a charity, and you have built it up to a point that it runs itself. What are all those types of things that you want to be able to leave behind? So once you've written out all of that, and with both of those, the more details you put, the better. I want you to pull out your long-term goals from both of those exercises. So anything that you can clearly see, okay, this could be a goal. So maybe that's that you want to be an author. So a goal would be you're going to become an author in some form, right? Maybe one of the things you wrote down is that you want to leave a college fund for your grandchildren. So that would be a goal that you would write down. So go through everything that you've written and just list out every single goal, no matter like if it's personal, professional, big, small, maybe some things you've already accomplished or you're on track to accomplish. Still write those things down because you want to recognize whether or not you are on the right path, right? The next thing that I want you to do is figure out what season of life you're in. And that's going to help you know what to focus on right now. And get clear on what your current priorities should be. So I like to look at this as all your different areas of life, and you're going to rank them on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 is being the absolute worst. It can't get any worse than this. 10 is it's absolutely amazing. And it couldn't get any better. Another way that I've heard people explain this is 1 would be you're feeling really discouraged about it, and 10 would be you're feeling really encouraged about it. And then there's kind of the scale of 5 would be you're kind of neutral. It's okay, right? So the first area is your finances. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about your finances? When you go to pay bills, are you stressed out? When someone has a birthday, are you excited to give them a gift and buy that gift? Or do you start panicking, like, how am I going to scrape together the money to buy this? Is there a lot of things that you wish you could do or buy and you're unable to? Do you not like your debt situation? Just think about everything financial related and give it a score from 1 to 10. The second area is your professionalness, is that a word? Your career or your purpose. So how are you feeling about where you're at career-wise? Are you in the 9 to 5 and you love it? Are you in your own business? Is that where you want to be? Do you want to be doing something else? Do you feel fulfilled by what you're doing? Do you like the impact you're making? Do you like where you can see that you're going? Do you like how quickly or slowly you've moved up the ladder, if that's what you're doing, or growing anything else that you're doing? So rank your career, your purpose, professional life on a scale of 1 to 10. Number 3 is your dwelling. So that can be where you live. That can be your car or your transportation. That could be the gym you go to. That could be your workplace. So anywhere that you're spending a significant amount of time, how do you feel about that space? Does it stress you out? Do you not like it there? Is it not the style you want? Is it causing a lot of problems? Is it a struggle to get to work every day because your car keeps breaking down? Or do you take the train and you wish you had a car? So just think about all the different areas that you spend a significant amount of time and then give that a score of 1 to 10. And then this could also be like a gym you go to, or if you go to a certain coffee shop a lot or a co-working space, it could be that as well. Think about what that experience is like for you, if you enjoy it or not. Number 4, let me add numbers on these because I can't. Oops. Guess I won't. Okay. Number 4 is your personal growth. So how do you feel as far as how you're growing as a person, how you're learning? So this could be skills that you're learning or taking on. Maybe you want to become a better cook or get more organized, or you want to learn a language. Or there's a course you've been wanting to take, or you wish you were reading more or listening more podcasts. You want to go back to school. So rank your personal growth, how you feel like you're growing as a person, on a scale of 1 to 10. The next one is your hobbies, joy, and restoration. So I like to consider this like me time, things that fulfill you and help you to show up better. And some of these categories can overlap with each other, and they all kind of affect each other, right? So for this one, think about if there's any hobbies that you enjoy, or maybe there's things that you used to enjoy doing that you stopped doing that you haven't been making time for, or maybe you consistently do make time for your hobby or a club you're in or anything like that. So rank that on a scale of 1 to 10. The next one is your physical health. So this is how you feel physically. Are you never sick? Are you sick a lot? Do you like your weight? Do you like how you feel when you get up in the morning? Are you always tired? Have you been putting off your doctor's appointment or dentist appointment? Are you breaking out a lot? So on a scale of 1 to 10, rank how you're feeling physically healthy. The next one is your mental health. So how are you feeling emotionally? Are you often happy? Do you find yourself crying a lot or angry a lot? Are there things going on that are really causing you a lot of stress or anxiety, or is your ADHD acting up? So anything related to your mental health, give that a score of 1 to 10. And then also, if any of these don't relate to you, or you don't feel like they're relevant to you, just don't include them. The next one is your relationship. So if you have a partner or if you're single, how do you feel about it? Are you happy in the situation that you're in? Do you wish things would be different? Or are there things that you wish were different? Or are you completely happy with where you're at? Maybe you're happy with where you're at, but you want to do something coming up. So maybe you're single, but you feel like you're ready to start dating. Um, so rank that on a scale of 1 to 10. The next one is family and friends. So how do you feel about the amount of time that you've been spending with your family and friends? Do you wish you had more time with them? Have you been fighting with someone since the holidays? Do you feel like you're spending too much time with them? You need more personal time. So rank that on a scale of 1 to 10. And then the last one is parenthood. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about that area? So again, if it's not really relevant to you or not relevant right now, you can skip it. If you're trying to have a baby and been struggling with that, that would be part of this. If you have kids and things are going great or there's a certain struggle right now, consider all those things for this score and give it a score of 1 to 10. Okay. So now that we have all those scores, I'm going to help you figure out how to know what your current priority is and what your current goals should be. So which area of the 10 you ranked, I think it was 10, which one scored the lowest? So we did 1 was the worst possible situation, 10 was the best. So which one was either a 1 or a 2 or a 3, whatever the lowest score you had, pull that area of life, and that should be your focus right now. The only caveat to this is you also want to think about what your other things that are going on, right? So let's say that you scored your physical health the lowest, but it's because you gained weight from pregnancy and you're still pregnant. So you might not pick a goal or pick that to be your focus. You might instead want to focus on whatever the next lowest one was, or you can set a goal of something that's not necessarily like losing weight, but helping you be more body positive, right? So that might even be more related to your mental health. But keep that in mind. So now that you have your lowest scored area, I want you to write down what made you score it in that way. What are the things that are discouraging you or making you not happy with where you're at in that area right now? And list out however many things that you feel like if this were different, I would have scored this higher. Now, okay, so this is the thing that I'm doing differently this year with my goal setting. And I wanted to share it here because I think it'll help, because I know a lot of people set these really long-term goals, and then at least for me, it feels really overwhelming. And a lot of times I'll spend a ton of time creating this perfect strategy and trying to figure out like the exact step by step of how I'm going to accomplish this, what I need to do. And then I spend so much time doing that that I don't end up actually working on the goal, or I'll work on a little bit and then feel like I'm not getting any closer to it, and I'll give up on it or forget about it, that I made this huge plan, and then I'll go and make a new huge plan. So if that sounds like you, then I think this new way of looking at it is going to help you. I actually came up with this because I used to work at a tech startup, and um we used I don't know what they call it, a project management system that was called a sprint. They use it in Scrum, a lot of tech companies. And I decided I wanted to try it with my goal setting. So what they do basically is they have a huge list, especially if we had an app, and there was always a ton of things that need to be fixed, new features we wanted to roll out. And that can feel very overwhelming. It can feel like, when are we ever going to be able to accomplish all of this? And it could just feel like a lot, and it can be hard to know what each person should be working on. If one person's working towards one thing, another person's working towards something else, and then it takes forever to actually complete anything. So what we would do, we would break up everything that needed to be done into 2-week increments. So if, for example, you want to write a book, you might say, okay, I think the first step would be to write an outline. So over the next 2 weeks, my goal is to write an outline. And ideally, you're going to, one, create a list of tasks, if that's something that makes sense for what you're doing. So some things there's like several tasks that go into it. Some things you just need to consistently do it every day. So one of my 2-week goals is to track my calories for the next 2 weeks, versus just saying, oh, I want to lose X amount of weight by the end of the year, right? I know ultimately, like, that's the goal, but the first step is to start tracking my calories and see where I'm at right now. So, and then there's some other things that you could look at it as just, how can I improve that lowest area of life in the next 2 weeks? So brainstorm out anything that comes to mind. And then if it's something that you realize, oh, this is actually going to take longer than 2 weeks, break it up into a goal that can be 2 weeks, right? So if let's say you're doing the calorie tracking for the next 2 weeks, and then after that, you're going to review how it went, if you accomplished it, and then you're going to re-rank the 10 areas of life, and decide what you're going to focus on next. So maybe I do that, and then I re-rank. My rankings are the same because just doing that, I didn't lose any weight. And then from there, I can adjust my calories, right? Or if it's a business goal, for example, the book writing, if I just wrote out the index of the books, not the index, the glossary, right? Where it says the chapters. And I'm feeling a little bit better because I feel like I'm working towards what I want to accomplish. So maybe that area goes up a point, but then maybe one of my other areas kind of fell behind. So for the next 2 weeks, I really want to focus on that area. You can decide if you want to focus on multiple areas at the same time. Maybe you want to have 3 things that you're focused on over the next 2 weeks. But it's really figuring out what your capacity is. When we use this system in the tech world, we would over time figure out what each person's capacity was. So some people would take on, they would give each project a score of like how much time they thought it would take. So you can figure out how much time you actually have to be able to work toward your goals. Or if they're not really time-based, you can figure out just what your capacity is. Cause like if I'm tracking my calories, that's not really, it takes like a minute, right? So it isn't like, if I were to say, oh, I'm going to walk 30 minutes a day, right? That is a time constraint. So right now you can look at your schedule and try and figure out how much time you have to work towards your goals. But then there's also just a capacity limit of being able to really focus. And that's why I kind of like the shorter time frame too, which I talked about this before, of when I went to college and in summer school, they were much shorter time periods versus an entire semester that was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. We would, in summer school, it would be only like 3 weeks. Some of them were 2 weeks. And I always got such a better result. Like I felt like I learned more, and I pretty much got A's in all of those classes and didn't feel like I was struggling because I could just focus on 1 or 2 classes and get it done in those 2 or 3 weeks and then move on to the next thing. So you're also going to feel like you're actually getting momentum and see that you're actually getting closer to your goals when you break it down this way, instead of looking at things from like the year perspective or the 10-year perspective. So you're just going to keep repeating that throughout the year, and you'll be able to figure out again what your capacity is. So if you run into something that is more of a long-term goal, then what I would do is write down everything that needs to be done to complete it. And then group it into groups of what need to be done in 2-week increments of how much you think you can complete in 2 weeks. And then start with the first group of tasks. And if possible, especially if you're the type of person that likes to spend a lot of time planning things out, I would recommend, if you can just figure out what is the first few things that you need to do that you can finish in the next 2 weeks, and just do that versus trying to like create the whole plan, right? Because it probably, once you actually get into it and you complete the first 2 weeks, you might realize that what you had after that actually isn't correct. And then you're going to waste a bunch of time going through it, right? So that is everything that I have. That is your, you figured out your legacy, your long-term goals. You figured out what season you're in, what your priorities should be, and how to set goals that make sense for you. One more thing that I want to say about setting your goals is about SMART goals. If you've never heard of them, it's basically just a way to make sure that your goals are things that you can actually make sure you're doing. So I'll put in a little graphic into the workbook, but basically you just want to make sure that your goals are specific enough that you can actually say yes or no, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. So if your goal is in the next 2 weeks, and it has to be actionable also. So if your goal in the next 2 weeks, you say, okay, in the next 2 weeks, I want to lose 2 pounds. You can't really, that's not really strategic enough to be able to just go in and do that, right? You need to know how you're going to do that. So I would rather, instead of saying that, you could say, I'm going to walk 30 minutes a day, or I'm going to work out 3 times a week, and then schedule that in when you're actually going to do that over the next 2 weeks. And then you can say yes or no, I didn't do this. One other thing is when you're deciding what you're going to focus on in the next 2 weeks, create a celebration plan. So once you accomplish this in the next 2 weeks, how are you going to celebrate it? I think it's really important to celebrate our small wins so that we're not always just waiting until some big thing happens till like it feels good enough to be celebrated. If instead you're celebrating along the way, you'll be able to enjoy the journey more and just continue to pick up that momentum, right? And it doesn't have to be something big, right? It can be anything. I just wouldn't do anything that is like the opposite of what your goal is, or that is counterintuitive to it. So for example, if your goal is to track your calories for the next 2 weeks because you want to lose weight, you're probably not going to want to make your celebration that you're going to go to a buffet, right? It might be that you're going to get a massage, or you're going to have a date night, or you're going to buy yourself a new outfit. So ideally something that aligns with what it is that you accomplished, but at least something that doesn't deter you from it. And then as you're scheduling when you're actually going to show up to accomplish this goal, schedule when you're going to review it and create your next goal after the 2 weeks. So make sure you have that in there so that you don't just do this for the first 2 weeks and then that's it, right? You want to review it and then make your plan for the next 2 weeks of what your next focus or goal is. So I hope this was helpful to you. I feel like this is a much easier, straightforward, simple way to accomplish goals than to have these huge looming things that are just overwhelming, right? And that feel like you're never getting there. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about this specific lesson, be sure to grab that workbook and then you can comment directly under the recording of this video and I'll answer all the questions there. But that is all that I have for today. I will see you guys in the next episode coming out on Thursday. All right. Bye, guys.